And we are live. We are so sorry for this technical difficulties that we have. My name is Bente. I'm going to be your host in this webinar, and thank you for your patience. We are already 6 minutes beyond the starting point. However, we have a very interesting program today, and we are very excited in EO4AGRI to present our recommendations and advices for the future of agriculture using Earth observations, and in particular Copernicus. So with that, we are starting. You can ask questions and comment in the chat box to your right or to the left. And we will start by introducing the speakers. We think we will use 1.5 hours still. I kindly ask everybody to stay as short as they can so that the audience can ask questions and comment as well. So this is for you, my speakers and experts. We will start. I will show you the program, and so that you see the concept of our final workshop. So I will start by sharing my screen. Hold on, and you will be able to see the program. Yes. So. Yesterday, we went into the technical background that we have done. So we have some technical insights on the use of Earth observations for agricultural applications. Today, we are going to look into the future, as I said, and talk about the strategic research agenda and a roadmap for the future. The overall concept is, as I say, there's a link between the technical how should I say, studies that we've done and what we come up with as recommendations and our findings. We will start by, of course, introduce you to the project. Not everybody knows the EO4AGRI project. It's a CSA Horizon 2020 project. Earth observation for agriculture strategy and implementation of the Green Deal will be presented to you. It's a I think this is the white paper that we have developed. Then we have some ideas for a strategic research agenda for Earth observation in agriculture in Europe beyond this year. And finally, we will present a policy roadmap with some concise guidelines for the Earth observation in agriculture for common agricultural policy after 2020. And we hope to have a dialogue with you. There will be some coffee tables. I will come back to that. Miguel Esbri will, and you will learn more about Miguel shortly, will do the introduction of the project. Karel Charvat will do the two findings of the white paper and the strategic research agenda. And Ausrius Kuckinskas will reveal our policy roadmap. If you're not already registered as an AirMeet user, we recommend you do that, because after this webinar now, that will last about 1.5 hours, we will invite you to sit down around some virtual coffee tables. That's what coffee or tea or whatever you prefer to drink around a virtual table and discuss with the speakers. So you can let us know your ideas, give us some feedback, ask questions. You can also do that during this webinar by talking or writing in the chat. You can also raise your hand. You see there's a speak hand there. And if you have a stable internet connection and you have a Chrome browser, webcam, and headset, we will be able to invite you into the room so you can present your comments or your questions live among us. With that, let's learn about you, my speakers, as I call them. Ausrius, can you introduce yourself very briefly first?
Yes, so my name is Ausrius Kuckinskas. I'm from Lithuania National Paying Agency, and I'm responsible in the paying agency for remote sensing and on-the-spot checks. So that's short about me.
Yes, and we are excited to hear about the roadmap. Karel, Charvat.
Hello, I am Karel. I'm from Czech Republic, and my main responsibility was use the requirements and preparing recommendation like white paper and strategic research agenda.
Yes, very excited about that as well. And of course, our coordinator, Miguel.
Thank you, Bente. So my name is Miguel Esbri. I work for Atos Spain, and more specifically, I am part of the research and development department in our company. And more specifically, I work in the space unit, which is in charge of developing geospatial applications. And as Bente mentioned, I am the coordinator of EO4AGRI.
Yes, indeed. Well, my name is Bente Lilja. I'm from Norway, and I represent here the organization called Plan for All. And we are a partner in the EO4AGRI. I have been working on engagement in the communities, making sure that we are hearing from you when we are both when we did our studies of what is being used now, and making sure that you are helping us with coming up with the recommendations and the white papers and strategic research agenda. So now let's just learn about EO4AGRI first, Miguel.
Thank you, Bente. So I will share my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so this presentation is basically the same one as we provided yesterday, but I will try to be quicker so I can give more time to my colleagues because they have auto-explained in the other presentations. So this project was funded under the SPACE program in 2018, and it's about the Copernicus evolution. So more specifically, they funded 3 projects, one for forestry, another one for the Antarctic, and this one is funded in relation to agriculture. And the main purpose is to prepare the European capacity for improving the agriculture monitoring. And as Bente mentioned, it's a coordination and support action. So it started in 2019, and we are precisely finishing the project at the end of this month. So it's a 2-year project. The consortium is composed by 11 partners with different backgrounds. So we have research and academy institutions, we have Earth observation data providers, we have industry represented by Atos as also part of one of the DIAS providers. We also have SMEs, which are providing tools and processing of Earth observation data, and we have public administration, in this case represented by our colleagues from the Lithuanian National Paging Agency. We have 7 high-level objectives in this project. The first one is to create this community building concept in order to analyze the community needs and to be able to find a common ground for cooperation with the different actors involved in the agriculture domain. Also, the second objective was to identify end-user groups within this very wide domain, which is agriculture, and try to understand their needs with respect to the different Earth observation data products and services that are available or that should be produced in the future. Since the area is so wide, we decided to focus on 4 main sectors, which are the agri-food sector, the public sector, and more specifically focusing on the CAP policy. Also the financial sector, which involves the banking and investment and insurance companies. And finally, the idea was to develop a set of scientific and technical guidelines in order to understand the existing gaps. So we also, in order to narrow more the research, we focus on 3 main aspects in the agriculture, which are the precision farming, the yield forecasting, and the improvement of the future missions for supporting the thematic applications. Without forgetting, of course, the different aspects of the ICT that supports all this. Also, the 4th main objective was to analyze the existing data value chain within the Copernicus ecosystem, going from the upstream components that are provided by Copernicus program itself, and going to the downstream up to the specific applications that are currently existing in the agriculture domain. All this information has been collected and gathered and published in this catalog that we have produced in the project, and which was already explained yesterday by one of my colleagues. And today we will focus on the two main objectives that we have in this slide, which are the policy review, which based on the outputs that we have collected in the other activities, the idea is to provide recommendations for strengthening the impact of Copernicus program in the CAP policy at different EU and national levels, and also to provide a strategic research agenda with those areas where we think that should be put more emphasis in producing new research in order to fix the gaps that we identified. And last but not least, of course, all the results that we have produced in the project are aimed to be disseminated as widely as possible by the project. As I mentioned, we have these four stakeholder groups, like public sector, food security, agri-food sector, together with farmers and suppliers, and the financial sector. So we aimed to impact on them in terms of promoting the use of Earth observation. So this could drive new development of applications that could improve their processes. Also, with respect to the financial sector, this will be very interesting for them in order to identify new possibilities in order to use this Earth observation data to improve their internal processes as well, especially with the possibility of having not real-time data, but very high-frequency data provided by the satellites that enable them to study the areas and provide new products for their customers. Also, how this data provided by Copernicus can improve the global food security by, since it's open data that can be used by external parties to make assessments on this. We also had several collaborations with the GeoGlam organization. Also, with respect to the public sector, and very importantly for the CAP policy, the idea is that they can use this data in order to move from the current on-the-spot checks on the field to a more continuous monitoring of the fields. So this can be a very important achievement for the paying agencies and in order to save costs as well. And as I mentioned, the idea is that also the results can contribute to this future research agenda which could be part of the next programs in the Horizon Europe, for instance. And of course, all of this supported by how the diocese platforms could support all this implementation, like developing new artificial intelligence algorithms, deployments of the applications on top of those platforms, and so on. Just to go very quickly on how we collected the requirements, we identified these groups, but also in order to collect the requirements, but we also made a very thorough assessment of past and existing running projects, mainly funded by the European Commission. So we have made an assessment of more than 140 projects. We also have collected input from the 3 workshops that we have organized on the project. In fact, this is the third and final one. And we have also collected requirements by the co-organization of different training activities and inspired hackathons, which were involved developers using the data, which provide interesting feedback for incorporating into the assessment that we made in the project. And of course, we also went to the specific events where the stakeholders normally attend, like the EU directors, paying agencies, conferences where the national agencies attend annually there. And finally, we also promoted and got feedback from different events at international level, like the ones provided by OGC, FAO, GODAN, or RTA. Also, very quickly, we gathered hundreds of requirements from the end users and from these projects I mentioned. Of course, in these 2 years, it was not possible to analyze all of them in depth. So what we did is to categorize them and prioritize according to the user groups that we defined in the project. And well, we focus on the most important ones that we considered, and all the results are in the deliverables that I will mention later. Also, we carried out a deeper analysis on what are the possibilities with respect to the diocese offerings in terms of APIs, on how to access the data, what are the deployment possibilities of future or existing applications related to agriculture in those platforms, together with the infrastructure that they provide. Well, this has been a very quick presentation. Of course, there is more, and part of that was explained yesterday, which was basically regarding the more deep explanation of the requirements, how this was then managed by the WordPack 3, which is in charge of the deeper study on the requirements in respect to the precision farming, the crop yield detection, and other things related to agriculture. Today, as Bente mentioned, we will be focusing more on the policy roadmap, the different deliverables that we have produced in this respect, and also the white paper that is kind of a summarization of the main achievements of the project with respect to the policy part. Just to very quickly go before I finish, for those of you who don't know, we have this project website where you can find the catalog I mentioned before and that was explained yesterday, where you can find there the different agri apps that we have assessed. It's more like than 50 agri apps that are available in this catalog. And of course, we have all the public reports. Since it's a CSA, most of the deliverables are available publicly. And you can find there the latest version of them. So for some of them, they have not been yet published because we have the final review at the end of next month. But once this is approved, we will publish the results, of course, of the pending deliverables. And that would be all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miguel. Then if you have questions here, then you are welcome to ask anything that you wonder about the EO4AGRI. Meanwhile, I just posted as a sticky note there the link to the webpage that Miguel was mentioning, so you can go and check out for yourself. And I know that Nuria will try and help us and also share the video from the recording yesterday where you went a little bit deeper into explaining the EO4AGRI project. So you can consult that as well. I don't see any questions, but don't be shy. You have a chance between every speaker and then in the end. Karel, you have 2 presentations for us. And you will start with the white paper. We call it the white paper. Yeah. The floor is yours.
Okay. So do you see my presentation?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I will start with the explanation of the white paper. It is more could be focused on some political recommendation. Second, strategic research agenda will be some recommendation for future research. I will go at the beginning back with my presentation, something like I can say 10 years back, and I am using some slides from previous AgriExchange project, when we analyze the different external drivers which will influence in the future agriculture. Yes, and you can see that this external driver can go in some cases in opposite direction, and it is possible to find some good way how to solve all these things, and how we can make and manage agriculture in the future. It was done 10 years ago. Now, if we are looking on Green Deal, we can recognize that the number of the things or drivers which we already defined in this time is included in the Green Deal strategy. And again, we can look, yes, on one side, for example, there is expected to reduce usage of fertilizer about, I think, 20%, to reduce negative influence of pesticide about 50%, what can have some influence on the production. On other side, if we are looking on the Green Cap, we need to guarantee in some way sustainability and profitability of our agriculture, and to guarantee the good incomes for farmers. There are other things which are related. Biodiversity, of course, we need to look, protect biodiversity. Again, it can generate some needs for changing of the management. There is climate, and there are two topics in the direction of the climate. On one side, we need to reduce the negative influence of agriculture on the climate, but on other side we need to mitigate farming sector to be able to adopt the changes in the climate, water, other things. It is not only on the European level, on the global level, and because we look also on the global level in EO4AGRI, we have sustainable development goals, and of course there is a number of things like zero hunger, no poverty, and many things which are in the global way. But in reality, Green Deal and Sustainable Development Goals are in line and go in the same direction. So I mentioned maybe that this sentence is not 100% valid for Europe, but in the global scale is important. Future agriculture will need to produce more with less. Yes, we need population is growing, but it is required to produce higher quality and to put less chemicals, to use less fuel. So we need to reduce our inputs, but we need to increase the global production, and this is not possible to do without some effective knowledge management. I am sure that there is a lot of chances to improve agriculture in Europe and worldwide, but to be possible improve this production, we need to improve also knowledge management, because we need to use the knowledge as some tool which can help farmers to be more effective, to use less chemical, and so on. And this is some way what is important to understand. We are very often discussing about big data, but big data is nothing for farmer. Do you think that normal farmer is able with the data to take any decision to work more effectively? No. We need to transform the data to information. Then we need this information to, information could be some interpreted satellite images, but we need to transfer this, to take this into all community, to build the wisdom about all these things, how to manage future agriculture. So if we are speaking about the data, and of course EO4AGRI is mainly focused on satellite data, and it is clear that satellite data are important source of information. But if we are looking on the analysis, what about I spoke yesterday, then is some very interesting things that on one side is require better resolution, more dense data, but on other side, if we are analyzing the willingness or possibility of farmer to pay for the services, it is limited. Yes, farmers are able to pay some data. Of course, we need other data also. For example, in situ data, and it is necessary all this data put together and transfer this data into some recommendation. Nuria, if I can ask, please, if you can share link to our document D2.2 and 2.3, where we are explaining all this process and all this analysis, yes, because it could be useful for people. So if we are moving from data to information, yes, we need to have some platforms which will help us to deliver this data to the people. We have in Europe DIAS platform, but there exists also a number of commercial systems, commercial platform. There is a number of platforms where you can access the data from satellite, but the situation is much more complicated with, for example, IoT data, because there are no some big repository or central repository of IoT data, and the number of other data is not so well available as satellite data. If we are discussing the transferring of this information into knowledge, there is some demonstration of a few architecture of a few projects which run or are running now, and if you will go to the detail, you can see some similarity, but there are also some differences, and we can mention that there were already done large investment of public body in Horizon in previous project, and it will be good to use this investment effectively, because not all platforms now are fully used, and sometimes it depends also with the fact that farmers are not able to pay all this functionality, and also with other things that agriculture is highly fragmented, yes, and there is number of sources of information. It is not only earth observation, it is machinery and other, but there is also a number of players who are working together, so it generates some needs to work together. So we can say that till now access to the knowledge is limited, and it is important to make this better, because without this we will be, or farmers or all sector will be in the troubles to reach these ambitious goals of a Green Deal. And what we see as important is to look on some future private-public partnership in the sharing of the data, in developing of the system, because in some cases different players in private sector but also public sector need similar type of analysis, similar data, and if the money will be put together, then is much better chance that we will be able to support farming sector to be more environmental friendly, but also to be productive. And what is important is to improve the evidence about the data. We are a lot of speaking about metadata, but I think that current metadata till now are not the optimal for making better accessibility of the information, and what will be in the future important that in this knowledge platform metadata will be generated automatically and will make evidence of all operations, because if you would like to use not primary product but some type of already produced data, you need exactly know what was done with this data, because without this you cannot use this. So there will be probably necessary again open the question about metadata and speak destination Earth or digital twins, and this is something what could help, but it is necessary again, I think, from the beginning to try to connect all private and public investment and to use this digital twins or this destination ads from the beginning for the purposes of all sectors, because we have very challenging ambitions till 2030, and so it is necessary very fast to offer this new knowledge management to all players. We also need to look more on could be agriculture research, because till now the precision farming was mainly about farming productivity, but now the precision farming will be much more also about environmental issues, and this is necessary to look how we can do this, and as I already mentioned, how we can finance all this, because not all what will be here will be only in the interest of the farmers, but in the interest of all society. I am telling this very often. Yes, we need to provide better and better implementation of FAIR principles, because this is very important. And in FAIR principle, it is not only about the open data, but it is also about sharing of the commercial data, because not all time all data are open, but we need to find also the good way for sharing, could be commercial data or the data which is some privacy, but all has to be included into this principle that we need to build such technology that we will be able to share open and closed data among the players who are important. So there is some 10 recommendations from white paper, that it is important to organize some workshop on conferences about the exchange of information, cooperation of private and public sector. We need to organize some multi-actor research, because it is important that agronomists, agriculture expert, biologists, people about the environment will work in the projects together, because without this is difficult to solve all these topics. Yes, we need to support farming sector with open data, metadata model. We have in some way to look on what was already done and reuse previous solution. In the project, very often happened that new projects are starting from the beginning, looking on the user requirements, defining architecture, what was done many times, but we need in the future be more effective and start from already existing platform and go further, yes, to look what was done. It is also important to bring new ideas to support some smaller projects, because usually if you have big projects, it is limited for some newcomers, new players, and there is important to finance some number of small projects. Current example is, for example, Smart Agri Hubs project, which is trying to do this. There is also a number of other projects. What is positive on Smart Agri Hubs is that it is not predefining any type of the technology, that it is relatively open. Standards, yes. It was mentioned that there is a number of platforms, and this platform can communicate and exchange data only if we will support more standards. We need to build some coordination action which probably can connect the different projects and discuss this standardization with standardization body. And of course, last and biggest problem probably will be not the problem of the technical, but the problem which are related with the legislation and also financing questions. So this is all from my first presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Karel. Do you have any questions and comments to this white paper? We will be happy to hear. While you are thinking about it, Karel, you know me. You mentioned the FAIR principles, and of course we support that. And as you said, when in the case of certain farming data, they are not open. So at least following the FAIR principles is better than nothing. But as you know, when we are speaking about Copernicus data, they are following the geo data sharing and data management principles, which are going a little bit further. And I don't know, have you made any reflections on the possibilities of being more open, even though we may acknowledge that some data will remain unopen, but have you made any thoughts on that?
No, but there is two important things. We can, in some way, support FAIR principles also with non-open data, yes? But this data has to be discoverable. Yes, you need to know that there exists such data, how to access this data, and also whom to contact, for example, to pay this data, that it is necessary to support better discoverability also of non-open data. Yes, this is very important. Other things is what I mentioned, that, and it is from my knowledge missing in any projects, yes, that there are provided nice processing of the data, you receive the result, but how, for example, some researcher or some advisor is able to use this data if there is not well described all process how this data was done. And this is something what I see as some extension of metadata and FAIR principle, that we need to look on all platforms to be able automatically monitor all processes and in some way share data and metadata together. So we need to look probably on some semantic model of metadata, not only this catalog, but to be able to share this data and to bring all this processing description of the data with the data, because then it can help to reuse what was done.
Yes, absolutely. And this data, this is general data management principles that we are talking about and how to implement
Here is some from Brian, yeah. Something.
Yes, so Brian is asking, Karel is mentioning increased values or process data, store them with provenance information. Could Karel elaborate on the level of granularity for provenance information?
Yes, I think that you need to start at the beginning. What was the source of the data? Yes, then if the data was processed, okay, I combine this type of the data and I provided this operation, and we need to have all this information included in some metadata file describing this new data, because this is something what will really be useful, because scientists cannot work with some process data if he don't know what happened before with this data. Yes, there is necessary to have a good description, and of course it will be good if this description will be in machine and readable form, yes, to be possible to easily recognize the processes, methods, and so on. So probably some semantic models will be necessary. There are some research or development, DCAT, GeoDCAT, IP, and other, but probably they will be necessary to go more further with this for the future. Because if we are really speaking about digital twins and destination Earth, then we will need to have such information, because without this we will never be able to analyze all processes and to be able to share all what happened.
Exactly. And you mentioned, we have mentioned that we have been engaged in, and particularly you, Karel, in the OGC working group on agricultural standards for agricultural applications. So that's one communication where they have a working group on making data interoperable, because that's what we are talking about.
And of course, from my side, Open Geospatial Consortium, where I'm managing this agriculture working group. So this is why I mentioned that, for example, we need in future some bigger coordination activities which can connect this different effort to work together, because it is like if we have no standard, so it is necessary to support some coordination of these activities to go in one direction.
Yes, so we will post some links to those communities for those of you who are interested in that. Brian, yes, it seems like you got the answer, and I think we are ready then to continue, Karel, with you, because then it is not working. Okay, sorry. Yes, Karel.
Yeah. Okay.
The strategic research agenda. The floor is yours again.
Okay. Okay. So I will go with my second presentation, which is describing our ideas from the report about the strategic research agenda. As Miguel mentioned, it will be available in December when it will be approved by the Commission. But I will try to put the most of ideas from this into this presentation, and here is some basic scheme as how it was done or how it was organized. And on one side we have this analysis, what about we spoke yesterday, and I think that you can see the presentation from yesterday. It is available, and you can also look on our documents. Then I mention this three important things which came during SDI. SDI goals are older, but the Destination Earth and Green Deal came during our project, and it influenced a lot of our recommendation. And on the base, we provided synthesis of these things. And here I will present it shortly. Some recommendation for GeoWar program, Horizon Europe for two clusters, digital strategy for Europe, and space strategy. We spoke about sustainable development goals, about the Green Deal, which are defining some tasks, which are defining some needs, and Destination Earth. It is something what I didn't mention so much before, but it is the goal to build the model of the Earth, which will help to take any decision, and agriculture is some important part. It is now realized under this digital twins. What is something I already partly mentioned this before, that the idea of Destination Earth is that mainly till 2025 the most of services there will be for public sector. I think that we need to change a little opinion in this direction and to combine this already with private services, because if we have to reach our goal till 2030, we need to start immediately. I mentioned that I will make some recommendation for different this activity. GeoWar program is prepared for a short period. Now is actual work program 2020-2022, and of course the most important activity in Geo for agriculture and Earth observation is GeoGlam, and what is it already started, but what is again important as a recommendation is to focus more and more on the FAIR principle. FAIR principle, as I mentioned, could be also applied for non-open data, but making better sharing. We need to make this data easy accessible for large community. I also already discussed in previous implementation new metadata models, which has to be discussed. What is important to look on some API, which will be possible easily implement also for non-geospatial communities. I think that now one alternative could be this OGC API effort which is moving from some heavy standards to something much more light, and I think that it is important for the future. A very important role I see in the future for two things, and it is citizen science data, where community can contribute and also can analyze, and of course something what I expect that will be more and more important is integrated not only Earth observation but more in situ data, because if we go to more precise, it is necessary to look in this direction. About Horizon Europe, it is prepared now, and it is divided into more parts, and today I will speak about two things from Pillar 2, and it is this food bioeconomy, nature resources, agriculture and environment, and other topic is digital industry and space. So these are, I think, the main key area where we prepare recommendation and where it's necessary to do something to help in the future agriculture. In the report which we are preparing, there is a recommendation for every plant line in this prepare work program, but here it is important. It is only space to make some conclusion. And what I see for future as very important, not only for agriculture, but if we are speaking about environmental protection, water protection, biodiversity, and all these things, to look much more on existing data. Because if we will be able to understand existing data, and if we will be able to analyze this existing data, then we will be better able to understand the future and to prepare the models for the future. And I think that there is the big richness now. It is that there exists satellite data for more than 40 years. It is not only about Copernicus, of course, it is about Landsat and other data. And also there exists, for example, climatic data, and to be able to analyze what happened to build the artificial intelligence model on this historical data, it is important for modeling of biodiversity production and all these things. Of course, other topic is to give in-time data from Earth observation, to provide it early warning method, and integration for all these things with IoT and other terrestrial data. What is also important is to change the view on the precision farming. Yes, on one side, till now was the main focus on nutrient and crop protection. There is necessary to develop other methods, seeding, tillage, which can help, and also Earth observation data can help with this. And other things, what we are now trying to promote is to change also precision farming view in other direction. Till now, we spoke mainly about where. If you will see any definition of the precision farming, there is written that it is site-specific farming, to decide it where to put something in the field. But what is more and more important, and where also climatic data and also Earth observation data can help, is when to make right timing for any operation. This is very important, and already some projects demonstrate that timing could reduce using of chemical much more than site-specific operation. So it is important to look on this, and also what type of species to use, what type of chemicals, and to understand what can help us, what I already mentioned in part, and this is this analysis of trends, movement and changes, and this can help us understand what we can do, what we can seed Of course, as observation is important to analyze the interaction between agriculture and sensitive ecosystem. It is important to look more and more on the combinations of satellite data and climatic data, and to use these different weather conditions. Till now, most of activity is separated, that some people are working with climatic data, some people are working with satellite data, and if we will be able to put all this together, it can help improve the situation in the farming. About digital industry and space, again, I look on the future priority, and of course one from the hot topic is artificial intelligence. As an artificial intelligence could be used in two types in relation with as observation. One is better recognition of objects on satellite images to be able to detect the fields, because if we will be able to detect the fields, we can easily to prepare some recommendation. And second is to use artificial intelligence in the analysis of time series. I mentioned this more time. Together with artificial intelligence is discussed robotics, and robotics can be used on both sides. On the data collection, it could be special robots taking soil sampling, or it could be some robotic data collection from drone and other, but also on the operations where these robots providing operation can be user of some results from satellite data. This metadata and the trust and provenance of data, I discuss development of integrate different data, as it is important. And what we have also to look, and what we have also developed is visualization, because for farmer, for normal people, good visualization can give them much better imagination than some graph tables. So to continue on the development of new advanced visualization method is important. And of course, if we are discussing about current and historical data, there is necessary to guarantee storage, and is necessary to guarantee fast access to the data. HP computing is important, because if we are discussing this digital twins and all these models, it will be probably not possible to do without new method of HP computing or implementation of this method of HP computing. In this part for digital industry and space, high resolution Earth observation and hyperspectral system. So there is important to support development of this new system. If they will be also support development of commercial system, because we saw already with the system coming from Canada and others that like Planet, that this high resolution data can improve the situation. And if we need to go to resolution better than 10 meters, we will need to use this commercial system, and we will need to look on the solution for the future. Analysis of hyperspectral data, if we will use this data, it is important. And of course, there is also important to look on radar and lidar data, because till now, for example, Sentinel-1 potential is not used as will be necessary. So there is necessary to develop methods for this. Digital Europe program is something what we recognize as important is to support effort on private-public partnership, because we need to combine resources from different sources. For example, we recognize that the food industry will be interested for some and could invest some money, but also paying agency, government, and we need to look how we will be able to combine private and public financing to this future digital twins and other. And trust is important because, for example, if farmer has to share the data with some other people, it is important to trust them, and they need to know who will be able to access the data. One from the priority is education about artificial intelligence, but what is important to train not only IT expert to develop new algorithm, but on new developers, but also to be focused on users of artificial intelligence, because in some cases programmer is able to write excellent algorithm, but if he don't understand the problem of agriculture, he will be not able to use this algorithm for some concrete domain, and there is necessary to have some advanced user who will be able to do this. Other priority is a digital innovation hub, and it is important to look on the activity which already start. Of course, extended this. I already mentioned Smart Agri Hub as one from the way which could help in this domain. Space strategy for Europe is other strategy which is now prepared, and we prepare some recommendation. The task is promote uptake of Copernicus, EGNOS, and Galileo. So it will be good to make some demo of running examples across Europe to be able to share the things. Facilitating the use of Copernicus data, again, it is related to our analysis like API, standardization like OGC standardization, stimulate the development of space application. Again, not only expert in Earth observation can solve the problem, but it is necessary to bring more and more agriculture knowledge, biodiversity knowledge into the team, and there has to be this team which will be really multi-actor, where different skills will be put together to find the best solution how we can use satellite data. Economical model, I mentioned this need to be based on public-private partnership, and of course we need more and more combined satellite and climatic data. What is important is in some way look how to guarantee some sustainability of research result, because very often happens that after 2-3 years after end of the project, a lot of disappears. So there is necessary to try to involve much more investors and big player to the research activity to guarantee investment after end of the project, because if project is finishing on the TRL 8, then it's necessary a lot of additional financing to be able to move this into the praxis as innovation hub. And what is important is aggregate demand of farmers, food industry, financial sector. We done this part in EO4AGRI, but it is necessary to continue to put this common demand, and then if we will know this common demand, we can also make new solution which could be cheaper. And of course, for Green Deal and Destination Earth will be necessary to support both new space and terrestrial infrastructure. Last is some recommendation for future mission. Yes, we need better time coverage of the data, hyperspectral data, multispectral data. We need to go with the data with higher resolution. Thermal data are important for number of the things, and more development in this radar and other things. So it is all very fastly. I think that it will be possible to speak hours and hours about this, but I try to concentrate this into some limited time, and this is now all from my presentation, and there is time for questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Karel, for this nice overview of strategic ideas for a strategic research agenda. Do you have any questions? You can ask that now, you can wait until the end. And we also, again, I want to remind you that there is a possibility to engage with all the speakers after the final presentation and discussion in the AirMeet. So we will provide a link for that very specific AirMeet. So AirMeet is virtual coffee tables, or tea if you like, or any other snack that you would like to have. Akanin, no, we are not yet through with the meeting. You have to if you cannot hear, some of you have said that you cannot hear, you have to reboot your computers. That will normally help so that you can hear the sound again. I have one quick, we are ready for you now for the roadmap. We are excited about that, Ausrius. I have one question for clarification, Karel, and that you were mentioning satellite data, and there's a need of having both satellite data and climatic data. Now, climatic data can also be satellite data.
Yes, but usually climatic data are something already like product which is generated from satellite data, as it is already weather forecast, it is the temperature, so it is already in the form transforming from original satellite data, and of course the climatic data are usually combination of this satellite data and sensors data.
Yeah, and with sensors data, you mean in situ and model data and derived from
meteorological terrestrial sensors, agrometeorological sensors.
Yeah.
This climatic model included all, and the climatic data are already much more models. They are not poor satellite data.
Yeah. Just wanted to clarify that for in case. Okay. Yes.
There is from Nuria that sometimes connection does not work properly.
Yes, that's what I said. That for those who are having trouble with hearing, sometimes it helps to reconnect, and very often it's the internet connection. I can only recommend people to reconnect because everything seems to be working fine here. Okay, thank you, Nuria, for helping out. Ausrius, I know you have plenty on your mind. We are ready for you now to hear about the exciting roadmap. And of course, you are from a paying agency, so we will hear from the public sector also now.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Bente, for the floor. So just one second. And do you see the slide? Okay, so yeah, my name is Ausrius Kuckinskas. I'm from Lithuanian Paying Agency, and today I will speak about policy roadmap on how Copernicus should influence future CAP development. And my presentation is divided into two parts. One is about area monitoring system implementation in paying agencies, about the survey results, and another part is a recommendation for a European Commission. So the survey was conducted in 2 years, and in 2019 we had the answers from 27 paying agencies, 26 member states, and in the survey there were 33 questions. And in 2020 we have answers from 29 paying agencies, 22 member states, and there were 34 questions. What is the insights after the survey? So, yeah, that first insight that Sentinel-2 data is widely used by paying agencies, and throughout the year is a big progress of using Sentinel-1 data. Also, most of the paying agencies are planning to that checks by monitoring will substitute on the spot checks in coming years, but they are still facing difficulties to do it faster. About difficulties, we will see on the next slide. But before that, after the European Commission abandons the commercial, very high resolution and high resolution free delivery to member states, paying agencies are planning to use mainly the current nationally acquired orthophoto images, PHR and ATHR images acquired directly from the providers and the Sentinel data as well. So the main obstacles for member states for implementing an area monitoring system. So of course, in the first place is small parcels and the problem to detect for small parcels and the activities in there. Also doubts about the future audits approach, because so far there was just very few audits, and nobody doesn't know what's happening in future regarding the audits. Also lack of knowledge, complex subsidy system with few monitorable eligibility criteria, lack of human resources, funding, infrastructure, doubts about efficiency, and more. And what is the most valuable products for paying agencies? So the top three is crop identification, grassland mowing, and crop harvest. So it's, as you can see, it's almost for the whole paying agencies in almost all paying agencies have interested in these top products. But nevertheless, there are demand for the projects like the biodiversity, burned out areas, drought areas, crop yield estimation, crop loss estimation in case of disaster, soil erosion, and flooded areas. And also, there's demand in the market not only from the pay agencies, but also from the environmental agencies, insurance companies, and etc. And in the survey, we had like for more than 17 different products from the Copernicus the demand. Some more insights that European Commission is the main provider of needed algorithms. So the current status that AMS-based performance output indicators not developed, but also 2/3 of the paying agencies would like to see the European Commission as the main provider of all needed algorithms for area monitoring system, such as crop type, grass mowing detection, and etc. And more paying agencies have tested the DIAS throughout the year, but however, there should be a direct and active communication with the DIAS providers, because 13 paying agencies are still planning to test it and 14 paying agencies are not sure of using it in the long run. The development of necessary algorithms is mostly outsourced, and those algorithms will run in-house at the third-party providers or on DIAS. Internal AMS projects dominate over international ones as the number of internal projects increased, and it was 6 in 2019 and 12 in 2020. And so far I want to make a very short break just to ask if you have any questions at the moment.
Yes, thank you, Ausrius. We have, in fact, can you come back? So Panagiotis is asking if Eurostat is not a potential user, a demander.
Well, in my opinion, it could be. Also, we have some meetings in Lithuania with the statistical department, which is probably.
Want deeper go into the presentation of the results of your survey that we did a workshop, online workshop earlier, and you will see that in the chat. You will get a chat so you can dive deeper into in more peace and quiet than now. Okay, no more questions. I think you can go on, Ausrius.
Okay, thank you, Bente. And that's all from the first part of the presentation. And what is the recommendation for our European Commission? How to deal with current issues, such as small parcels, complex subsidy system with a few monitorable eligibility criteria, doubts about future audit approach, lack of skills, funding, infrastructure, and etc. Also, recommendation for usage of free open source software and Copernicus core service. So far it is not clear how paying agencies are planning to test all the tools and free open source software that will be developed through those international projects. So at the moment there are how these products will be tested. Also, to organize a cycle of webinars about existing and future Copernicus core service products, it is a need of learning how these products could be used for CAP. And from the survey, we received 27 answers out of 29 work. Yeah, and yeah, this work is not ours, so it's EOX, and thank you for Gerhard. And in general, the following principles should be applied. Thing is that the concept of an open value chain for CAP monitoring should be established for the supplier domain, encouraging paying agencies to outsource and liaise with expert suppliers ranging from ICT and cloud providers via data providers to value-adding data access and analysis software providers. Also, established contractors of paying agencies are players in this open value chain, as these would integrate services from suppliers as commodities, as well as numerous national initiatives by paying agencies, contractors, and suppliers, and came to the conclusion to recommend an initial list of products which shall be specified as de facto standards in cooperation between paying agencies and open value chain suppliers. These products should be made available as industrial supply via data as a service mechanisms, delivery via IP or which services. As you can see, there are some product levels and different products in these kind of levels. And I recommend you, if you want to talk about this deeper, so join us after the presentation in Air Meet room, and we could talk by the coffee table about that more deeply. Value-adding platforms. So we see that European Commission as the main provider of all the needed algorithms from AMS, like type, grass mode detection, and etc. Also, centralized vegetation indices production and provision of signals as services. And also, it should be made easy for value-added industry, for example, data cube service providers, to integrate with the Copernicus land monitoring service for implementing parcel-based signal and marker services based on HR VPP, if adequate. Also, we see that there are some necessity to define the minimal scope of checks by monitoring as a legal part of the air monitoring system, since the list of minimum requirements measures criteria for setting checks by monitoring. Current performance output indicators are not adapted to be moved to the new AMS. Also, European Union member states are overloaded with different requirements in different countries, which are not this. Another recommendation for European Commission is the leadership on conditionality. Who knows what is the conditionality, but it's the part of the new CAP programming period. So, fallow land and burning areas and etc. And an overall leadership of European Commission on conditionality and agro-environmental schemes are still missing. What we see else, that the more suitable European Union legislation for using of Copernicus Sentinels is needed. For example, a higher threshold of minimal eligible parcel for support when controls by monitoring applies, and simplification of greening, agro-environmental, and other CAP non-monitorable requirements. For example, specific plans for crop diversification, 2 different crops for catch crops. Also, it is necessary to update European Commission regulations to lower the requirements for member states for monitoring approach. For example, raise the level of traffic light threshold. At the moment, there are 50 and 250, so it could be like, I don't know, 100 and 300 or even more. Also, the the AMS without geotag photos is hardly to imagine. So improve European Commission standards for geotag tools in order to increase harmonization among different countries, and it could be done by geotag photos and in-situ data. So the initiatives by GSA and EO4AGRI for development tools, for example, FAST, for helping farmers to collect and communicate in-situ information with the paying agencies are considered important and shall be pushed towards de facto standard practices. Also, very high-resolution Earth observation data for parcels which cannot be monitored by Sentinel due to geometric resolution, and the guidelines how to use VHR's Earth observation data instead have been adequately communicated by GRC. The European Commission shall continue to support demonstration projects and communicate lessons learned to the paying agencies community. Furthermore, the information shall be made widely available how paying agencies systems can integrate with VHR EO data dissemination services, for example, via API. And the third thing is to educate the general public and farmers as end users of Earth observation, so that could increase the proactive use of products and data from Earth observation. For example, Lithuania, we uploaded to our geotag mobile application as open data layers, just like Sentinel layers, LPs, and so on. And it seems that it's interesting for society and farmers. And so far, so far we have more than 9,000 unique users, and well, I think it's quite a lot, 9,000. Also, centralized cardinal production DIAS. So GRC via ESA contract mechanisms has been tasking the 4 industrial DIAS to demonstrate large-scale production of Sentinel-1 backscatter and coherence, as well as Sentinel-2 L2A. DIAS is individually reported to be ready as presented to expert group for direct payments during the info event on the 24th of January 2020. Followed by EO4AGRI and GRC with paying agencies in promoting further, also at the more technical level, these DIAS production capabilities. And what we see in the overall, so this is the table that you can see the status quo about the improvement of current situation in CAP controls, and about our vision how it will be going on the next years. So, for example, for direct payments at the moment, there are only 10% of the on-the-spot checks, and 90% is checking by remote sensing tools. But we see that in 10 years it will be just improved like for 5%, and for others like rural development, it could be the same. And well, we see that many things are happening in European Union, and the European Commission does a lot of things, but still have to take the leadership to improve the speed of the possible more and more using of Copernicus products. So as we see, it could be the future of FPA employees, that the satellites are working and the expert maybe it's not. Yes, so thank you a lot, and that's all.
Thank you so much. It will be automated. We all fall asleep, Ausrius. Well, maybe not. Will maybe not be the situation. Anyways, thank you so much. And that's a lot of information that you have been presented to today, and condensed in very short presentations. We therefore also offer the opportunity to join us after this event. It's still not, you can still ask questions here. Please do so, comment and question, and you can raise your hand and we can invite you in here so you can present your question orally if that's easier for you. Otherwise, if you want a more informal meeting, we do have the coffee table set up, ready to receive you, and we will post a link again. There is one link already. Any questions? Maybe we have some questions among the speakers. Karel and Miguel, do you have some questions to Ausrius, who was the latest speaker? You're muted, Miguel.
Sorry. No, well, everything that he presented, we already know, of course, since we are part of the same project. I was wondering, I saw now the questionnaire that you do. Do we have an estimate on how many?
How many people from the paying agencies?
From Lithuania, I saw that we are 3.
Yes. Yes. So there's a distribution. I did some polls. I can actually report a little bit about the polls. So you were asked if you are influenced by the Common Agricultural Policy, the CAP, which are often used as an acronym. And you see that there's a mix, about half and half that are influenced because they. We also have, as you see here, people from the paying agencies. So Ausrius, what for those that maybe not everybody knows what the paying agency does, what do you do?
Paying money. Yeah. We are paying money.
It's actually that. You're paying money to the farmers. Basically.
Yeah, for making conformities with the requirements. Yes. And making the conformities with the requirements. So we have some kind of bank, but I can't shortly tell for
the way that Europe and European Union, but not only European Union. So I come from Norway. We are not members of the European Union, but we are following the policies of the European Union to a very large extent. So this is relevant for us as well. I think that every country has rules and regulations to that the farmers need to follow. And what we are speaking about here is that the paying agencies are sort of monitoring that this is actually done according to the rules and regulations, so that they get their subsidies. That's what you are paying, right? Or not?
Yeah. Well, I just didn't mention that the monitor of VAT controls is some part it's via satellites, and at the moment via sentinels. So it's in the long run, to make the process more effective, it's very important to use more and more Copernic products, so how sentinels, and from that, for example, to detect crops or the activities on the fields. So in the long run, it saves money and it's more effective, more efficient, and it's better not even like for PAGCs to make this decision, but even for farmers to receive the payments as soon as they can.
Yes. So there's efficiency at many levels. Okay, do I see more questions? I do not. Karel, do you have any comments?
No, I made some comments in the chat before. Yes, that probably in the now this task related to agriculture is mainly related with paying agencies, but in the future probably much more public bodies will need to use this information, because if we will discuss the question of biodiversity, the question of land use planning, what will probably be connected in the future, there will be necessary much more interact between paying agency, Ministry of Environment, regional governments, because probably decision will be taken in different levels, and there will be also necessary huge cooperation between many of public agencies.
Yes, absolutely. And you see also, well, we are about to enter the decade for nature preservation, and globally. And of course, there's always, I'm sure most of us know about this conflict of how to use the land. You need to protect the nature. You need to have high productivity for food production, so the agriculture, but then you also have biodiversity. So there are many different interests, and the Earth observations here, so the monitoring should be made in a trustworthy manner, right? This is important for you, that it's trustworthy, that both you can trust that it's correct, and the farmers or those who are influenced by this information can also trust that there's no trickery here, right? This is an issue.
But what I think as the most important in the future, that politicians has much more use the research result.
Yes, and I believe you had a very nice figure, Karel, where you show that you have the information, you have data, and you have information, and then you have knowledge, and then you have even wisdom, right? So this will be, we should use I will then share the AirMeet link again for you, so you get it on the top. You will be able to meet the speakers there. We will go directly from here.
I always forget. So thank you very much, first of all, Bente, for helping us to organize the workshops, and also to the different presenters from today and also from last day. Well, I hope that the results that we have presented are interesting and useful for you, not only for your research, but also for the future. And who knows, maybe in the future we can also collaborate in future CSAs or research.
A big smile. I take a picture. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
See you in the other room.